Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Joey here from Don't Call My Wax Junk. Here to do another episode of Binder Bender. Shout out to all my guys out there that like to keep their collections in binders. I know there's a lot of us out there. Today's set is a set that at one time was a very, very hot set in the hobby because of the key rookie cards you could find in it. It's not so hot anymore value-wise, but it's still a great set and very fond in many of our minds. Today we're going to take a look at the 1987 Fleer set. This is the factory set, and inside each factory set came a 12-card set of World Series highlights. And that starts this set off. Of course, the 1986 World Series featured the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox. We all know how that series went. It went right through the legs of Billy Buckner. And unfortunately, in Game 6, when the Red Sox had the Mets against the ropes, that key error opened the floodgates. Mets came back and won Game 6 and then went on to win Game 7 thanks to 3 hits by World Series MVP Ray Knight, who also scored the game-winning run in Game 6. In Game 7, he hit a home run that gave the Mets the eventual win, 4-3. The 87 Fleer set, and I don't know if this is, I guess this is something they did every year, but in this particular set, the cards were displayed, the number, the order of the set was based on team and the way the team finished the 86 season. And it did not matter what league, it's how you finished the year before. And of course, we start the 87 Fleer set with the world champion New York Mets. Just a great looking set, kind of that, I don't know, just blue border, I guess you would call it. It's Dwight Gooden. There's Ray Knight. The young Kevin Mitchell. Darryl Strawberry. Then the Boston Red Sox, who were also in the World Series, Roger Clemens. There's Bill Buckner, unfortunately, for many years was kind of out of the baseball spotlight. Had a really good career. As a Braves fan, I remember Bill Buckner for playing left field the night that Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run, and I can remember seeing Buckner try to kind of scale that wall to see if he could bring that ball back in. So he had a nice career, started out with the Dodgers. Then, of course, the Mets beat the Astros in the NLCS, which is why the Astros come next. Phil Garner, eventual manager. Nolan Ryan, Mike Scott, a good 1-2 punch there for the Astros rotation. Then the Red Sox defeated the Angels in the ALCS. Reggie Jackson, Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer Don Sutton. And these are the non-playoff teams that had the best record, starting with the New York Yankees. Mattingly, Henderson. Boy, they had a good team. Just a real classic design on these cards. Not too flashy. Very uniform look. They didn't use a bunch of different colors so that it looked like a rainbow or anything like that. I didn't dig cards that looked that way. I was not a fan, like, of, for example, of the 89 Donruss or the 92 score, 91 score set with the 3 or 4 different color cards. This just wasn't something that I personally liked. There's Gibby, Jack Morris. I think this was Kirk Gibson's last year as a Tiger, 87. Of course, he played for the Dodgers, went to the Dodgers in 88. How fitting that Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker are side by side in this set. Phillies. So we haven't made it to any of the key rookies yet. But one's coming up. You got Mike Schmidt there. One that we'll highlight is here in the Reds set, and that's right down here, Barry Larkin's rookie card. Cal Daniels is actually from the community that I live. He and I are friends on Facebook. He has a travel team that he works with. One of my brothers used to play for him. There's the Cobra towards the end of his career. Moving on to the Blue Jays. Jesse Barfield, George Bell, great outfield combination there. Of course, Tony Fernandez, recently lost him. He was a great shortstop. Several of these, I see a few of them in particular that actually made it to see some success with the Blue Jays as world champions. Kelly Gruber comes to mind. Tony Fernandez. Jimmy Key. Dave Steve was a good one. Cy Young Award winner. Cleveland Indians. There's Joe Carter. Of course, Otis Nixon was a Brave for several years during the early 90s when they were having success. Phil Necro. Goodness gracious, that guy. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to become a knuckleball pitcher if you see the longevity that these guys had in the major leagues throwing that pitch. Seems like they could just throw forever and ever. Getting ready to see another key rookie here with the San Francisco Giants. That's this card right here, Will Clark's rookie. Another hot card for a long, long time there in the 80s and early 90s. And St. Louis Cardinals. Which is Ozzie. Andy Van Slyke, before he was a Pirate. Terry Pendleton. Won an MVP for the Braves in 91. Houston, going on to the Montreal Expos. See Andre Dawson in his last year with the Expos there. A young Andres Galarraga. Tim Rock Raines. Timmy Wallach, another one that pretty much lasted as long as you could as an Expo. Milwaukee Brewers. A few remnants of their Harvey's Wallbanger years of 82, I believe. Cecil Cooper. Molitor. The man with probably the greatest name in the history of baseball right down here, Billy Joe Robideau. Of course, Robin Yount, Hall of Famer. Kansas City Royals got George Brett. Here's another key rookie from this set right here, Bo Jackson. That was a hot card for a long time as well. Oakland Athletics, key rookie here, 87 Jose Canseco. I think he did have a card in the 86 Fleer set, so I don't guess this really is considered a rookie card, but a key card in the set nonetheless. Mark McGwire would show up in the 87 Fleer update set. Of course, the A's are just 1 year away from playing in their first World Series of the 80s, where they would be stunned by the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 and just never could bounce back. So we take a look at the Padres. Got Garvey, Goose, Tony Gwynn, young John Kruk. Prior to him becoming a Philly, Benito Santiago was a really good catcher. Used to throw from his knees, never could figure out just the strength that it would take to be able to throw a runner out from your knees. So we move to the Dodgers here. Hershiser. Right now, I'm in Georgia, so right now in the Southeast on Fox Sports South, they are replaying the 1995 World Series between the Braves and the Indians. Last night was Game 1, which featured Greg Maddux versus Oral Hershiser when he was an Indian. Just forgot how good those two guys were. Not Maddux per se. I remember how good he was, but Oral Hershiser was a great pitcher as well. Fernando Valenzuela. As we move into the Orioles, I love looking through these sets because you forget that certain players played for teams that you had no idea about. Like, for example, right down here, Fred Lynn had no idea that he played for Baltimore. There's Cal Jr. Moving to the White Sox, Harold Baines. Look at that, Steve Carlton. That had to be getting near the end of his career there. Carlton Fisk. Bobby Thigpen was a good one. And then we come to my beleaguered Braves. You had an abysmal season in '86. Did feature some notable names. Chris Chambliss, Ken Griffey Sr. Of course, Bob Horner was getting near the end of his time with us. There's Murph. Rafael Ramirez. Andres Thomas, cool story about him. We were on our way to a game, and we were on I-75 coming into Atlanta, heading to the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And there was an IROC Z, a blue IROC Z. I'll never forget the car because it was the kind of car that was driven in my favorite show of the time, which was Simon and Simon. I'm showing my age there, but of course they drove a cherry red IROC Z, but this was a blue IROC Z, and I just remember seeing the driver. He just kind of looked important, you know, and I look over and it's Andres Thomas on his way to the game too. I just thought that was a cool moment. Billy Beane for the Twins. Of course, we know Billy Beane probably more as the general manager of the Oakland Athletics and the Moneyball movie. But Billy Beane was I want to say he was a first-round draft pick by the New York Mets and just never could quite make it in the big leagues. Played for several different teams, the Mets, the Twins, went one or two other places, I think, before he finally retired from playing. Several of these Twins I remember from their next time in the World Series, which was, 87? I believe they ended up winning the World Series this year. I think they ended up playing the Cardinals, if I remember correctly, in 87. It's Kirby Puckett, Frank Viola, Dennis Eckersley as a Cub. He's getting ready to go to the Oakland Athletics, where he will become one of the first really notable stoppers, I guess. That's their defined role. They come in the ninth with a lead and they win the game. And that was Eckersley's role with the Oakland Athletics when he got there. Sandberg, Lee Smith. The Mariners, of course, this is pre-Griffey Jr. But you still see some familiar faces. Danny Tartable was a good one earlier on. There's Harold Reynolds. We know him from watching MLB Network now. Here's a key rookie for the Pittsburgh Pirates. There's Barry Bonds' 87 Fleer rookie card. Pirates, you could see where they had the beginnings of a great team that was going to contend for some possible championships down the road. They never could quite get over the hump. But Bonds, Bonilla in the outfield, along with Andy Van Slyke, Sid Bream, great defender, Rafael Belliard, a great shortstop. Defensively, of course. I think he hit 2 home runs over his entire career. There's Tony Pena. I always loved those hats. To me, nothing screamed vintage quite like those Pittsburgh Pirates flat top hats. I'm sure there's a name for them. I don't know what that is. And we have some superstar specials here towards the end of the set. Youthful Power, got Pete Incaviglia, Jose Canseco, 300 game winners in Phil Niekro and Don Sutton. Canseco's in another superstar special card with Wally Joyner as rookie all-stars. Bob Horner, 4 home runs in one game during the 86 season. Mattingly and Darryl Strawberry. Sluggers from the left side, former MVPs. There's the Cobra. Sandberg. How about these two guys right here? Wow. How good were they during this time? Dwight Gooden, Roger Clemens. Some prospect cards. Devon White. Dave Magadan, just some names that are familiar to me anyway, that are showing up. Marvin Freeman, he played for the Braves during the early 90s. Not a whole lot of these kind of cards in this set, just a handful. Then of course we've got the checklists. And then of course I included the stickers as well from that year. Just classic stuff here, y'all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the look of the 1987 Fleer set as much as I did. Appreciate y'all hanging in. I know it's a long set, but just brings back all kind of memories when you take a moment and just relive it. And that's what Binder Bender is all about. We appreciate everybody watching. We'll look forward to catching y'all down the road. Everybody take care.